Thank you very much, Congressman Phillips. We now proceed to Congressman Brian Mast of Florida.
Thank you, Chairman. As U.S. representatives, it is, of course, important that we ask, is the U.S. in compliance with something? But I think it misses a more important question, which maybe I'll see if we have time to answer at the end, which is just simply, why is the PA paying people who kill Israelis? It's maybe a little bit more of a philosophical question, but probably a more important one to answer to get to the crux of the issue, in my opinion. I want to use this backdrop of agreement to push something that I personally believe and then ask for analysis on it. I think the two-state solution is dead, and I think it should be dead. I've never agreed with it personally as an individual. It never made sense to me that you take an entity and make a state out of it that from its very inception would likely be a terrorist government organization. And I think you all have quantified that in part. Pay to slay does exist. You know, you've all said in various ways they want, Mr. Abrams, they want violence here but not there. They're very tactical and specific about where they want it, using the terms West Bank terror, you know, incentive for violence, and the list goes on. This is not hyperbole. Everybody agrees on this. Personally, I think we should be working to optimize the status quo. And I use myself as an example to say sometimes, you know, look, I'm missing two legs. Things are never going to be perfect for me, but I work to optimize the status quo that exists for me. I think we should be working to optimize the status quo that exists there, because sometimes things just aren't going to get better in a certain place. I'm not going to regrow legs. I don't think the two-state solution is going to regrow there. So I want to start with this question with the time that I have. And it was starting to be touched on in the last one. And it's just simply this. Would Hamas, let's just start with this, would Hamas win an election in Gaza? And then I'll ask, would Hamas win an election in the West Bank? And then I'll ask, would Hamas win an election combined?
There are polls, Mr. Mast.
And I'm familiar with them.
So, you know, many of them show that Hamas would win in the West Bank, but Fatah would win in Gaza. The devil you know is not liked because people live under repression, and so they react against the government that is repressing them. Today, I think Hamas probably would win because the PA is so unpopular.
I would tend to agree that I think Hamas has a leg up, if you will, on the Palestinian Authority. But I think it boils down to poor governance and corruption on the part of the PA. It is so thoroughly detested by its own people that Hamas has emerged as the anti-corruption candidate, and this is what lends it that credibility right now.
And I'll let you answer as well, sir, but let me add something that maybe after you answer, you all could go back and answer as well. Should we be negotiating separately? Should they be considered separate entities, Gaza and the West Bank?
Thank you, Congressman. Polls obviously are difficult within the West Bank and Gaza. I agree with Mr. Abrams that the likely scenario is that Fatah would win in Gaza given Hamas's unpopularity, that we should, of course, doubt the free and fair results of any election in Gaza held under Hamas auspices. I think in the West Bank, it's more complicated. Fatah, before the last elections that were scheduled and then canceled, had fractured into different lists. I think if there was one Fatah list that ran in a unified fashion, it would have a better chance of winning in the West Bank. But certainly, the Palestinian Authority and Fatah are deeply unpopular in the West Bank at the moment, given the various issues within the Palestinian Authority of corruption, transparency, and non-democracy.
Just to answer your question, Mr. Congressman, we already are treating the West Bank and Gaza as two separate entities. In fact, if we're to be honest right now, the chances of a two-state solution are essentially nil because we have a three-state solution. And I'm not even sure that there's that, right? I'm not sure that the West Bank is going to be willing to engage in any serious dialogue that would lead to an independent state. But in the meantime, you still have this additional entity in Gaza run by Hamas, and it cannot be treated as part of the West Bank Palestinian Authority.
Anybody care to touch on that first question from the very beginning?
Two-state solution?
Why does pay to slay exist to begin with?
This goes back, I think, to Yasser Arafat and the founding of the PLO, which was a terrorist group from the beginning. And I think if you look at what Arafat was saying in Arabic, From the very moment that he returned, he was a supporter of terrorism.